Good day everyone! For this video, we will going to talk about selecting the research method. By the way, I am Jamaica Idulacruz from BLIS 3A. So having identified the research problem and formulated a hypothesis, the researcher is ready to select a methodology for his or her study. The researcher must first decide whether the proposed research will be primarily applied or basic, and quantitative or qualitative in nature. So there is a distinction to be made between basic and applied research. Basic research tends to be theoretical in nature, while applied research tends to be more pragmatic. On the other hand, both types of research ultimately should add to the existing body of knowledge within a field, and in doing so, they must utilize similar methods and techniques. So Davis points out that interplay between academics or basic researchers and practitioners or applied researchers can be extremely valuable, and it should be encouraged. There is no good reason to assume that basic and applied research are mutually exclusive. In fact, basic and applied research can be considered as two parts of a continuum. So we have here action research. So according to Wilson, action research is participative organizational research that focuses on problem definition and resolution. So Isaac and Michael stated the purpose of action research to develop new skills or new approaches and to solve problems with direct application to the classroom or working world setting. So they characterize action research as practical, orderly, flexible and adaptive and empirical to a degree, but weak in internal and external validity. So Isaac and Michael identified the following basic steps in action research. First, defining the problem or setting the goal. Next, reviewing the literature. Next, we have formulating testable hypotheses. Next, we have arranging the research setting. Next, we have establishing measurement techniques and evaluation criteria. And lastly, we have analyzing the data and evaluating the results. Next, we have your scenario planning. So Christensen makes a case for the use of scenario planning as an accompanying tool in the context of action research. So the purpose for building scenarios is to address critical events under certain conditions and to create action plans. The techniques provide opportunities for generating new ideas which can be used for library strategic planning. So as an action research technique, scenario planning involves workshops or dialogue sessions where participants discuss library development with focus on strategies, practices, and knowledge about the library surroundings. Scenario planning provides an opportunity for library staff to gather information in a structured environment to create plans of action. Next, we have here evidence-based research. It reflects both the effort of practitioners who consume the results in making those decisions. So it has been addressed by professional organizations, practitioners, and researchers. So the quarterly open access journal, Evidence-Based Library Information Practice, was first published in 2006 to provide a forum for librarians and other information professionals to discover research that may contribute to decision-making in professional practice. So OCLC, or Online Computer Library Center, created a data mining research area. Then, they utilize data that are created by library services and systems, and they also provide intelligence to librarians to make informed decisions. So we have here an evaluative research or evaluation research. As a type of applied research, it has its own primary goal, not just the discovery of knowledge, but rather a testing of the application of knowledge within a specific program or project. So the two general types of evaluative research are summative evaluation and formative evaluation. So when we say summative or outcome, research is concerned with the effects of a program. It tends to be quantitative in nature and often used as the basis for deciding whether a program will be continued. So, formative or process evaluation is done during a program, not following its completion, examines how well the program is working. So, a more specific types of evaluative research include the use of standards and cost analysis. So, when applied to libraries, standards refer to a set of guidelines or recommended practices developed by a group of experts that serve as a model for good library service. So, while on the other hand, a cost analysis is basically a descriptive breakdown of the cost incurred in operating an organization. So here is the other kinds of cost analysis discussed by West and Matthews, which includes the cost minimization analysis that seeks to determine the least expensive way to accomplish some outcome. Next, we have the cost utility analysis. It considers the value or worth of a specific outcome for an individual or society. Next, we have the willingness to pay approach. It asks how much individuals are willing to pay to have something they currently do not have. Next, we have willingness to accept approach. They ask individuals how much they would be willing to accept to give up something they already have. And lastly, we have the cost of time. So, cost-related techniques are more concerned with the assessment of whether monies are being spent in an optimal fashion that usually fall into one of two groups. So we have the cost effectiveness and the cost benefit analysis. So the term cost effectiveness implies a relationship between the cost of providing some service and the level of effectiveness of that service. So it is a study of the cost with alternative strategies. While on the other hand, we have the cost-benefit analysis, which is a relationship between the cost of some activity and the benefits derived from it. So we have here the types of cost-benefit analysis described by Lancaster. So we have the net value approach. It is the maximum amount the user of an information service is willing to pay minus the actual cost. Next, we have the value of reducing uncertainty in decision making. Next, we have the cost of buying service elsewhere. Next, we have the librarian time replaces user time. Next, lastly, we have the service improves organization's performance or saves it money. So we have here the performance measurement or output measures that are made in order to determine what was accomplished as a result of specific programs, services, and resources being available. So as an example of performance measures, we have included the service area penetration, level of use of facilities and equipment, circulation statistics, and availability of materials and staff. So we have here a variety of techniques for measuring performance, which included the collection of statistics, questionnaires, interviews and observations, consumer panels, diaries, and benchmarking, as it represents a structured, proactive change effort designed to help achieve high performance through comparative assessment. Next, we have here the qualitative research that is appropriate where quantifiable measures of variables of interest are possible. So, a qualitative research have used a variety of methods and techniques, and many drawn from anthropology and sociology. So we have here specific research methods. First, we have is survey research that has been defined as the research strategy where one collects data from all or part of a population to assess the relative incidence, distribution, and interrelations of naturally occurring variables. Next, we have the experimental research. In experimental research, the researcher manipulates at least one independent variable, controls other relevant variables, and observes the effect on one or more dependent variables. So this method is considered to be the best method for testing causal relationships. Next, we have historical research. It is the systematic collection and objective evaluation of data related to past occurrence in order to test hypotheses concerning causes, effects, or trends of those events, which may help to explain present events and anticipate future events. And lastly, we have the operations research. It is the application of scientific method to management operations in an effort to aid managerial decision making. So it is used to identify optimal solutions to real problems utilizing analytical mathematical techniques. So there are some general types of operations research, which included the resource allocation, sequencing, inventory, replacement, queuing theory, and competitive strategies. So according to O'Neill, the standard approach to applying operation research includes the following steps. First, we have the formulating the problem. Next, we have constructing a mathematical model to represent the system under study. Next, we have deriving a solution from the model. Next, we have testing the model and the solution derived from it. Next, we have establishing controls over the solution. And lastly, we have putting the solution to work or implementation. Next, we have here modeling, which is sometimes used synonymously with simulation. It is at the heart of the operations research methodology. So a model is an abstraction, a mental framework for analysis of a system, and it involves the use of simplified representation of real-world phenomena. Next, we have the system analysis. It is another process that might better be thought of as a management technique than a research method. So, a system analysis often utilizes operations research type techniques and typically takes into consideration the objectives and the performance, the environment, the resources, the components, and the management of the entire system. Next, we have here a case study. It is an investigation of phenomena as they occur without any significant intervention of the investigators. Next, we have a Delphi study. It is a procedure using sequential questionnaires by which the opinions of experts can be brought to bear on issues that are essentially non-factual. So we have here a content analysis. So it is the analysis of the manifest and latent content of a body of communicated material, while the bibliometrics is the application of mathematics and statistical methods to books and other media of communication. So perhaps the most common type of bibliometric research is concerned with citations. So we have here a citation analysis. It is essentially concerned with who cites whom. So the three basic concepts of citation analysis includes direct citation, which establishes the relationship between documents and the researchers who use them. Next, we have the bibliographic coupling, where the reference list of two documents share one or more of the same cited documents. And lastly, we have the co-citation, which occurs when two citations are cited together. So we have here a task-based research. It is the research that focuses on the scrutiny of specific tasks, and it has been designed to utilize multiple research methods within the linguistics, teaching and learning, and human-computer interface communities. Next, we have here the comparative librarianship. So it is the systematic analysis of library development, practices, or problem as they occur under different circumstances. So there are four basic steps for research in comparative librarianship, which included the description, interpretation, juxtaposition, and comparison. So next, we have here a technology-based research methods. So as libraries and other information agencies embrace more and ever-changing technology, including social networking, and employ personnel with technological backgrounds, the profession must facilitate and encourage technology-based research. So one of the difficulties in doing so has to do with reconciling the scientific method with activities that are more similar to product development than to basic research. So we have here the Geographic Information System or GIS technology that is rapidly growing and powerful method for managing and analyzing spatial data and information for libraries. So it is designed for the collection, storage, and analysis of objects and phenomena where geographic location is an important characteristic or critical to the analysis. So we have here the protocol analysis. It is called the thinking aloud technique as it represents an analysis of subject searchers' thoughts as they perform their subject searches at the catalog. Next, we have the transaction lag analysis. It is used to study scholarly communication and productivity in bibliometric studies by analyzing the logs of online journals and databases. So we have here the ethics of research and the ethics for research on the internet. So ethics are in fact of importance to all kinds of social and behavioral research, especially when the research involves human subjects. So we have also here the guidelines for LIS professionals. So we have here the scientific and research misconduct. So as Creswell stated, unethical standards are in effect a constraint on research, and they can be divided into two aspects. First, the legal and institutional constraint designed to protect the people from whom data are gathered. And next, we have the responsibility of the individual researcher for proper conduct above and beyond legalities. So we as a researcher, we must first decide if our research will be quantitative or qualitative in nature, or it would be applied or basic. And we have now enough knowledge on how to use different kinds of research methods. So that would be all. Thank you.